My greatest sadness is that in the last 3 years in particular, that the Sri Lanka that I understand is being systematically destroyed on a daily basis. It is more than the human rights violations that we talk about. It is more than the statistics of the disappeared and of the killed. Because what is being destroyed is also a hope for the future, where you trace a continuity in the past and celebrate this country for what it is, a society in which people with different identities could live together, could celebrate those different identities without feeling them threatened. What we have now is, I think for the first time in our political history, majoritarian democracy, the ideology of majoritarian democracy being the ideology of the government of the day. No one rebuked Sarath Fonseca or Champika Ranaweka for saying those things. Everyone knew how powerful and influential they were. In a democracy, army commanders are not supposed to be making political statements. In fact, they should be sacked if they make political statements. When President Mahinda Rajapaksa was cutting such a media splash in New York by speaking a sentence in Tamil before the General Assembly, his army commander and his chief ideologue back at home were telling the rest of us who are not Sinhala Buddhists that we are visitors in our own country. Something is fundamentally wrong there and needs to be changed. And that's what I say, the tragedy for me is that this notion of majoritarian democracy becoming the ruling ideology of the day is destroying a Sri Lanka which I believe everyone in this hall values and would want to preserve. When we start talking in terms of patriots and traitors, when we start making the distinction between us and them, and when we start saying that the them are dangerous and divisive, then we too are involved in dividing our own country. The only way I think that we can reconcile, unite, is if within our society we have a constitutional and political framework which recognizes that these multiple identities need to be preserved and strengthened because they contribute to an overarching and strong national unity. The multiple identities do not need necessarily to be according to ethnicity. Someone from Molaragala or indeed Hambantota may feel very proud and justifiably so that they come from there. And that identity should not be seen as being threatening to someone coming from Bayamba or from Runa or wherever else. It is important for us to recognize that difference and diversity is what we have as part of our heritage, and that it belongs to all of us, and that we can only secure the future if we build upon that. That is why I have strongly believed, and I suggest to you, that in terms of preserving, protecting, and advancing human rights in this country, we need a political order, a political and constitutional order that is based upon power sharing, which recognizes that those who want the space to be able to express themselves, who want a degree of autonomy, should be granted that, and that at the same time there should be the mechanisms which also secure their interdependence with the rest of us. You can be apart from and yet also a part of. That is the type of political and constitutional order we need, so that no one in the society is going to feel threatened No one is going to be able to tell them that they don't belong. They are not going to feel that they are second-class citizens. So for me, the argument for power sharing and for federalism is an argument that also carries with it a powerful message where human rights underpins the struggle for real liberation in this country and for a new social contract. I have said this very often, and I will repeat it to you again. To me, one of the most powerful statements of the kind of goal and objective we as a society should have comes from a piece of work done by an Israeli political philosopher. His name is Avishai Margalit, and he wrote a book called The Decent Society. Avishai Margalit says that in a decent society, human beings do not humiliate each other. In a civilized society, institutions do not humiliate citizens. Those are two things that we have to strive for in Sri Lanka. Those are two things that on the 60th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the 10th anniversary of the 10 guiding principles on internal displacement, there are two things that do not apply in this country. Majoritarian democracy is a major obstacle and impediment to us moving beyond it. If we are to have a society which has peace and reconciliation, and indeed, above all else, national unity. Thank you.